Everything changed in a matter of seconds. Welcome to another explainer here on NFL Nexus. I'm your host, and today we are heading deep into the shadows of the National Football League offseason. But before we get into the trenches, do me a quick favor. Subscribe to the channel, like this explainer, and comment down below with what you think about this situation. And if you really want to support what we do, consider becoming a channel member. Okay, let's dive right into this, because what's happening right now in Green Bay, it is absolutely not your typical spring training. Normally, when we think of organized team activities, or OTAs, we picture these really light, breezy throwing sessions, right? Guys in shorts just kind of jogging through drills, coaches installing the most basic foundational playbooks, you know the vibe. But this year, the grass at Rhein-Nitschke Field has turned into a high-stakes battleground. It is literally an absolute crucible. This is where careers are quietly being forged, and in some cases brutally, painfully broken, long before the stadium lights ever actually turn on for the regular season. We're looking at a complete alternate reality for the Green Bay Packers right now. It's a reality entirely shaped by sudden, devastating injuries and these dark storm clouds of off-field drama that are threatening to derail the entire operation. So I need you to understand, this isn't just practice anymore. It is a desperate, clawing fight for survival.
Everything changed in a matter of seconds. Take a moment to really let that sink in. In the NFL, a team's entire destiny, their whole championship window, hangs by the thinnest of threads. It's terrifying when you think about it. A single awkward step on the turf, a sudden twist of a knee, and literally months of meticulous, obsessive championship planning just evaporate into thin air, gone. And we are watching this incredibly fragile reality unfold in real time for the Packers. The master blueprint that the front office drew up back in the winter, it's already been completely shredded. The coaches aren't just out there tweaking their game plans right now. They are frantically tearing them down to the foundational studs and trying to rebuild a legitimate contender on the fly. And the tension in that building, man, it is palpable. You can feel it hanging in the air in every single rep, in every strained press conference, in every silent, exhausted walk back to the locker room.
And that leads us to the absolute central conflict of today's explainer. How exactly do you survive in the unforgiving, cutthroat landscape of the NFL when your depth chart literally crumbles beneath your feet? Right now, today, Green Bay is trying to adapt to the absence of a staggering 15 players who are sitting out of practice. 15! Just wrap your head around that number. That is an entire starting unit, plus rotational guys completely removed from the equation. But the most devastating blow of all? A knee injury to their transcendent star edge rusher, Micah Parsons. You don't just replace a generational talent like Parsons. You can't. You simply have to figure out a way to survive his absence. And when the very foundation of a franchise cracks this early in the calendar year, it creates this massive, chaotic vacuum. But, as we all know in the NFL, chaos is a ladder. When the superstars go down, someone from the shadows has to step up.
Section 1. Bo Melton's Wideout Resurgence. Let's get into it.
You see, when the roster thins out and absolute panic sets in, that's when you find out who a player truly is. Enter Bo Melton. Right now, he is locked in this desperate, chaotic fight for a roster spot amidst all this massive positional upheaval. And his story? It is the absolute perfect microcosm of the razor-thin margin between NFL stardom and falling out of the league entirely. Just look at the sheer volatility of Melton's career path on this timeline. Drafted in the 7th round by the Seahawks back in 2022 as a wide receiver. He was a late-round pick fighting every single day just to breathe in this league. Fast forward to last year, 2025. The Packers had a deep receiver room, but they were incredibly banged up at cornerback. So, out of pure, unadulterated desperation to just stay employed, Melton actually agreed to switch to a wide receiver-cornerback hybrid. Think about the massive psychological toll of that for a second. You spend your entire life perfecting route running, studying defensive leverages, catching passes, only to be asked to suddenly backpedal against the fastest, most twitchy athletes on earth just to keep a paycheck. But look at 2026. He is finally back to his natural position as a full-time wide receiver. He had to spend this entire past offseason training alone, obsessively relearning the nuances of a position he originally started at back at Rutgers, just to prove to the coaching staff that he still belonged on that side of the ball. And this brilliantly illustrates how terrifyingly fast the NFL landscape shifts beneath your feet. Because going into this year, the Packers completely overhauled their roster. They actually parted ways with established receivers like Romeo Doubs and Dontavion Wicks, dramatically thinning out that receiver room. At the exact same time, they completely fortified the secondary, signing 5 new cornerbacks, including Benjamin St-Juste, and bringing in guys like Brandon Sissy and Damoni Jackson. So suddenly, Melton's hybrid role, it wasn't needed anymore. What they desperately needed was a receiver. And man, Melton seized his absolute moment. During the latest OTA practices, he wasn't just surviving, he was the undisputed star of the day. He absolutely dominated, catching these massive, beautiful bombs downfield from Jordan Love. I mean, in a span of just 6 plays, he torched the starting defense twice, including the spectacular deep ball cut right inside the 5-yard line against safety Evan Williams. He isn't just hanging onto a roster spot anymore. He is making himself undeniably, completely essential to this offense.
Which brings us perfectly to this triumphant moment right here. Yeah, it was lit, Melton told reporters after the practice. J. Love throws perfect balls. My go-to is being a deep ball guy. You can literally hear the profound relief and the soaring confidence in those words. After years of fighting on the fringes of constantly changing positions just to survive the dreaded waiver wire, Melton is reminding everyone in that building exactly who he is. And the undeniable electric chemistry he is building right now with his franchise quarterback Jordan Love, that is exactly the kind of connection that transforms a fringe practice squad player into a Sunday hero.
But we have to zoom out and look at the wider picture here, because while Melton is out there thriving, the rest of the team's performance is incredibly grueling and frankly painfully imperfect. Jordan Love might be hitting Melton deep, but he also threw 2 completely brutal interceptions. One went to Carrington Valentine after a receiver slipped on his route, and the other was this ugly, wounded duck pass thrown right over the middle that got picked off easily by Xavier McKinney. Then you look at special teams. There's rookie kicker Trace Smack, who was drafted to be the long-term salvation at the position. He had a completely horrendous day, missing 2 critical field goals wildly to the left. And sure, he refused to blame the crosswinds, but you can see the pressure is clearly mounting. When your kicker is missing wide left in May, everybody gets nervous. Add in the grim, suffocating reality of 15 total players sitting out with injuries, including absolutely vital starters like Zach Tom, Tucker Kraft, and Devontae Wyatt, and what you have is a roster that is physically bending under the immense crushing weight of the offseason.
Section 2. Gannon's edge defender gamble. So the big question is, how exactly do the coaches fix a leaking ship? Let's step right inside the strategic war room. New defensive coordinator Jonathan Gannon was brought in specifically to elevate this defense to an elite tier. But before he can even think about installing his grand overarching vision, he is forced to plug a massive, gaping hole. And this depth chart right here, it tells the whole terrifying story. With Micah Parsons on the field, opposing offenses quite literally have nightmares. You have an all-world game-wrecking talent opposite Lucas Van Ness. It's a beautiful thing. But look at the reality without Parsons. You have Van Ness, and then a terrifying, steep drop-off into completely unproven territory. You're looking at Barron Sorrell, a former 4th-round pick, Brenton Cox Jr., and Colin Oliver, who, by the way, is actually sitting out right now, too. Gannon is staring straight down the barrel of a season where he absolutely cannot generate natural pressure with his front 4. The front office hasn't brought in massive veteran reinforcements yet, so Gannon is forced to get highly, dangerously creative, risking everything on a radical tactical experiment.
And this is his massive gamble, the 5-man front. Now, what does that mean? Basically, this schematic shift allows a defensive coordinator to take their lighter, much faster off-ball linebackers and push them right down onto the line of scrimmage, essentially having them rush the edge from the outside. Gannon isn't out there looking for a traditional 260-pound defensive end to replace Parsons. He knows he doesn't have one in the building. Instead, he is drastically shifting off-ball linebacker Edgerrin Cooper to the edge, lining him up directly opposite Lucas Van Ness. It is a desperate chess move born entirely out of pure necessity. It's a smoke and mirrors tactic designed specifically to mask the team's most glaring existential weakness.
So, you might be asking, why Edgerrin Cooper? Let me draw your attention to this crucial number right here, 23. That is the deeply impressive total number of pressures Cooper generated over his first 2 NFL seasons. Gannon didn't just pick a name out of a hat and hope for the best. He looked at the tape. He saw a player who, despite playing primarily in the box or hovering in the slot, actually saw his snaps on the defensive line jump from just 38 as a rookie all the way to 108 in 2026. And in that time, he generated 23 pressures and 80 defensive stops. Cooper possesses these incredibly raw, violent instincts. He just inherently knows how to find the quarterback. Gannon is basically betting his entire defensive season on the idea that those raw, hunting instincts can seamlessly translate to a full-time role rushing off the edge.
But here is the terrifying catch to all of this. 6'3", 230 pounds. In the modern hyper-physical NFL, that is a remarkably light frame to put down in the trenches on a snap-by-snap basis. He is going to be lining up against mammoth offensive tackles who weigh upwards of 320 pounds. Every single snap is going to be a violent car crash of physics. It's a very light frame for an edge defender, but it carries a massive, incredibly heavy burden for this defense. Think about it. If Cooper gets swallowed up by the run game because he's giving up almost 100 pounds, the entire defense collapses. But if he uses his elite speed to just blow past those heavy tackles, Gannon looks like an absolute genius. It is a high-pressure make-or-break experiment happening right now, today on the practice field, and the entire season might literally hinge on whether Cooper's body can survive the sheer, punishing trauma of the position.
Section 3. The running back void. Let's pivot to the offensive side of the ball.
Because while the defense is scrambling to completely reinvent itself, the offense is dealing with its own intensely difficult scenario. We really have to talk about the massive elephant in the room here, Josh Jacobs. His current legal limbo has left the Green Bay backfield at a complete, agonizing standstill. While he has returned to the practice field recently, his status going forward remains incredibly uncertain due to his recent arrest. You essentially have an elite, cornerstone starting running back whose availability for the actual regular season is just a giant, flashing question mark. And here is the real kicker. The team is reportedly flat out refusing to trade for a veteran replacement while they wait for this legal situation to play out. They are standing completely pat. This stubbornness has ripped open a massive, terrifying vacuum in the offense. Someone has to carry the football. Someone has to step into the immense, crushing pressure of being the lead back for the Green Bay Packers.
Section 4. Lloyd's prove-it season.
The spotlight has literally never been brighter, and the stakes have never been higher for a young player carrying a massive, heavy chip on his battered shoulders. With the front office refusing to bring in outside help, the keys to the backfield are sitting right there on the table, just waiting for Marshawn Lloyd to grab them. But to fully understand Lloyd's motivation right now, you have to look at this shockingly low number on your screen: 6. That is the total number of rushing attempts Marshawn Lloyd had in his entire rookie season. 6 rushes for a measly 15 yards. He was a 2024 third-round pick, drafted to be this dynamic, explosive playmaker, but his NFL dream was immediately violently derailed. And it gets so much worse. He completely missed the entire 2025 season due to a litany of agonizing soft tissue injuries. Imagine the brutal mental torment of that. 2 whole years in the league, your own body betraying you at absolutely every turn, watching from the lonely trainer's room while the football world just moves on without you. 6 total touches over 2 years. That is a remarkably heavy ghost to carry into a training camp.
Which makes this quote right here so incredibly, undeniably powerful. I'm excited to prove the ones that are excited right, and the ones that are not excited, I'm going to prove them wrong. You can just feel the absolute fiery defiance burning in those words. Lloyd isn't just playing for a new contract, he is playing for total vindication. He is finally, completely healthy. He is taking full, intense reps in practice, emphatically telling reporters that he's feeling, quote, really good, really, really good. He has adopted this incredibly strict, obsessive routine just to keep his explosive body moving properly. He is out there taking every single handoff like his actual life depends on it. Because honestly, in NFL terms, it absolutely does.
If I want to change that narrative, prove it. Man, that right there, that is the defining mantra of the Packers' entire offseason. Lloyd knows it, the coaching staff knows it, his entire NFL future, and potentially the success of the Packers' entire ground game hinges completely on him staying out of that dreaded trainer's room and actually producing on the field. The runway is completely cleared for him right now. The dark narrative of the injury-prone draft bust is hanging heavily around his neck, and only he has the power to rip it off. Prove it. It's as simple and as terrifying as that.
All of this points to an overarching, brutal reality of professional football. The fate of the upcoming season isn't decided under the bright, glamorous lights of primetime television in late November. No, it is being decided right now, today, in the quiet, agonizing shadows of the offseason. It is decided in these microscopic, unglamorous moments. It's decided when Bo Melton spends his freezing winter running routes completely alone on a high school field just to get his career back. It's decided when Jonathan Gannon stays up until 3 a.m., staring at a whiteboard, sketching out a crazy 5-man front just to hide Edgerrin Cooper's weight deficiency. It's decided deep in the trainer's room as Marshawn Lloyd fights a literal war against his own body to finally live up to his draft status. These brutal, quiet moments, they are the concrete foundation of the coming season.
So I leave you with this final burning thought. When the depth chart completely crumbles beneath your feet, when the absolute worst-case scenarios play out in the spring, who will actually rise from the ashes?
The Green Bay Packers are navigating a wildly treacherous alternate reality right now. Between the devastating star injuries, the incredibly risky defensive gambles, and the desperate lingering offensive void, they are a team teetering right on the razor's edge. Will these unproven, hungry players step up and forge a truly legendary season? Or will the immense weight of these offseason shadows crush them before Week 1 even officially begins? Thank you so much for joining me for this deep dive explainer. Keep your eyes on these crucial storylines. Make sure you're subscribed to NFL Nexus so you don't miss any updates. And remember, the battle for survival has only just begun.